So before we get started with our event today, I want to again thank you all. We're doing this in partnership with the City of Corona. We've had this going for several years now, and we've heard from some really incredible entrepreneurs. At this time, I would like to introduce our partner for today's event, Jessica Gonzalez, Economic Development Director for the City of Corona, to share some announcements with you as well. Please welcome Jessica.
Well, good morning, everyone. Once again, pleasure to be here. We're always very excited when we can hear amazing stories. And so, Marta, I think all of us are looking forward to hearing about your journey. So what we do in the City of Corona, we always aim to support our entrepreneurs, our business community to create those bridges, provide those resources that are going to help them. So we are fortunate to have the great support of our mayor, council, that allows us to bring forth these resources, webinars of interest. So this Wednesday, for those that don't know, we kick off Hispanic Heritage Month across the nation. And so this is a great way for us to lead into the month by hearing directly from Marta, successful Latino entrepreneur here in Corona. And we also are partnering with other agencies to be able to celebrate across the month. So this afternoon, for those that are available and speak Spanish or would love to learn Spanish, at 5 p.m., we are also partnering with Grow with Google. So we all know Google very well. They have a branch specifically dedicated to building inclusivity, helping entrepreneurs to be able to launch business concepts, bring those to reality. 5 p.m., you can go on the city's website, coronaca.gov, to learn more. It's the first of a 3-part series. Today it starts on the 13th at 5 p.m. We'll continue on September 20th, and also on October 11th, it will conclude, helping businesses, specifically our Hispanic-owned businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs, to understand how to market their business, how to be able to use search engine optimizations effectively, and of course, how to attract customers to their place of business. Also next week, I want to point out that we are partnering with our Corona Chamber of Commerce and the Inland Empire Procurement Technical Assistance Center on a government contracting seminar. And so we know sometimes we hear from our business community that they would like to understand how to compete for government contracts, how to assess if they're ready. This seminar is going to do just that, help you to understand and assess your capabilities and get ready to be able to compete for those government contracts across county, state, federal branches of government. So next Tuesday from 1:30 to 3 p.m., online webinar. The information is also available on the chamber website, and also on the city website. So we have many events throughout the year that are designed to empower our business community, and we look forward to seeing you at all of them. Thank you.
That's okay. All right. Thank you, Jessica, for sharing that. And I can't wait to see everything that the city has coming up. Those Google partnership programs are actually really very helpful, and it gives you an opportunity to just find out what resources are available to you, right? And for free. So thank you for hosting that. Also in your packets, wanted to share with you about an upcoming mixer. Like Pavinder said, the power of networking is real, and we have one coming up on October 5th. We will be hosting that at Sunset Vans. It is going to be a really great after-hours event, and we're also going to be doing that in conjunction with Elijah Stacy, one of our local nonprofit founders, who's going to be doing a book signing at that event as well. So we hope to see you there. And lastly, before I bring up Marta, I wanted to share with you that our next Coffee with an Entrepreneur event will be here on October 11th. It's the second Mondays of the month, and we will be featuring Chad Willardson. He is our city treasurer, but he's also a business owner. He owns Pacific Capital, and he's going to be sharing his story about how he built his business. So we hope to see you there for that. Now, the star of today's event. Marta is the general manager of and co-owner of Eduardo's Mexican Restaurant. Eduardo's is owned and operated by Marta and her siblings, and they have served in the Corona area since 1994. She also serves on the board for the Corona Chamber of Commerce and as part of our committee for the Riverside County Women's Leadership Conference. She is very passionate about serving the community and especially about reaching underserved communities here in Corona and beyond. And we are so excited to have her here today. And at this time, I would like you to help me welcome Marta Cortez.
keep doing that. Buenos dias, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. As Stephanie said, I am from Eduardo's Mexican Restaurant here in Corona. We've been in business for going on 27 years, I believe. I've lost count. I don't know. But anyways, when they first asked me to speak here today, I really thought, oh, I got to come up with, an amazing story or, some magical savvy insights. But, then I realized I just have to tell you what my experience is, what we've done, what's got us to this point here. So my parents are immigrants. They came from Mexico. I was born here in Corona. But when we finally moved here permanently, it was in 1972. And yeah, you can do the math. I was 2 years old. So my parents are from the state of Michoacan, but they lived in the suburbs of Mexico City for 9 years before we moved here. My dad was a produce vendor, so, we've always done something food related. My dad had been here previously during World War II. He participated in the Bracero program, and he fell in love with the country. His dad had come here in 1923. He actually passed away in Pennsylvania when my dad was 3 years old. He had come here to work and never went back. So at an early age, my dad had to work to help my grandmother. This was after the Mexican Revolution, so times were hard. My dad started working when he was 8 years old, so he didn't get a chance to go to school very much. He's always very hardworking. And then on my mom's side, the family came here in the late 1960s. My grandparents, my uncles and aunts, they all came here before we did. So it was kind of natural that we would eventually end up here with them, which we did, like I said, in 1972. When we arrived, it wasn't such a hard experience because we had family here. We had a community of support. There was the challenge of the language, the culture, just different. Everything was different than it was in Mexico. But, we did have a lot of support. My parents had a job when they arrived, so that was something else that they didn't have to deal with. My dad worked for Corona Foothill. And we lived in company housing when we first got here, which was also good. It was a tight community, a very supportive community. So that was another, fortunate thing that we had when we got here. I know a lot of immigrants don't have any of that when they get here. So we had a lot of support. When I was 7, that was 5 years after we got here, my parents bought our house, the house that I grew up in. So that was, that's always part of the American dream, which, they were able to do within 5 years of when we arrived through their hard work. And, their main goal was to give us, their kids, a better future, which they did. They gave us the opportunity to live in this country, to do whatever we wanted and be as successful as we wanted to be, and they really, really work hard on that. I'm the youngest of 6, and I have to point out I'm a lot younger than all of them. So if any of them would say differently, they're lying, okay? So I know one of my brothers will always say, oh no, I'm the youngest. And people actually believe him. I'm like, I won't say what I call him, but okay. So, we're 3 boys, 3 girls. My oldest brother has since passed away. But my second brother, Salvador, was the big entrepreneur in the family. He was always looking to do something. And this is since I was a kid, I remember him doing things. He was in a band. He worked in a radio station. He was a DJ in a Spanish radio station. He opened up a club / nightclub bar with his friends. They played live Spanish music. This feels like another life ago, because like I said, I was a kid when all this was going on. But he was always looking to do something, and he had a lot of successes in those businesses, and we had a lot of failures too. But I always was there to help. I mean, it was exciting just to be involved in something. I remember, I think I was 14 maybe, when they had some radio event and I got to help and got paid. So that was exciting. But he also, he always tried to improve himself. He went to school, he went to RCC, he studied business, he studied photography, and he always pushed all of us to do the same. He pushed me to go to school. He bought me my car when I was in college so that I was able to travel, to school and back. Because I started, on the bus. He encouraged my other brother also to go to school, which he did. And, he just pushed us all. So, he's responsible for me speaking and writing good Spanish, because he always pushed that also. He taught me to be proud of where I came from, of my language, my culture, my history. So that really stayed with me a lot. He always managed to pull us into whatever he was doing, by working there. I mean, he would even get my dad involved at the nightclub they had. My dad was old, retired, and he's at a bar, working at the bar. So that always was instilled in me to work with the family, to help, to move forward. Like I said, he pushed me to go to college, and I graduated from Corona High, and while I was in Corona High, I studied cosmetology. This is something that not too many people know about me, but I was a cosmetologist, and it helped out, while I went to college. After that, I attended RCC and then transferred to UCR. I graduated from UCR in 1994 with a bachelor's in sociology, and I was supposed to go to law school after that. That was my goal. But remember how I said my brother pulled us all into whatever business he was doing? Well, that kind of changed my course. When I think it was in 1993, they opened up a restaurant. Him and my two brothers opened up a restaurant in Pomona. And it went through some name changes, and it ended, at the end, it was a lot of those Mexican restaurants. But it was a bad location, very bad location, so it was a big flop. And we ended up closing it in May of 1994. So, closed the restaurant then. I graduated from college the next month. And at the same time, Trina's here in Corona. Anybody remember Trina's? That's the location where we're at. That's the restaurant that was there before. They closed, and he got, into talks with the owner and also the landlord, and made a deal, and we bought out the restaurant, and, we were ready to start something new. And they were broke. I had just gotten out of college. There wasn't that much money, so the only thing we really had was our work. So we were there, getting the place ready. I remember I had to spray paint the chairs that we were going to use because they were the wrong color. We were doing all the work. And then when we finally opened, we were there every day. Every day, all day. The restaurant they had in Pomona was a big learning lesson, but it was an expensive learning lesson. But I think by the time we opened up the restaurant here, we all knew what we wanted. We wanted fresh food, authentic food. We wanted to provide, a good family atmosphere for our customers. And we sat down, we came up with the menu, we opened. I remember we opened on a Saturday afternoon, and within half an hour we had a first customer. We didn't advertise. I think all we had was a sign outside that said coming soon, but we never advertised when we were going to open or had a big event. It was on the down low, and we had our first customer within half an hour, and we had a busy afternoon, so that was great. Funny story, before we opened, we're Catholic, we had the priest from St. Edward's come in and bless the restaurant. So we became really good friends with him. And we never made the connection on the names. Eduardo's and St. Edward's around the corner. But a lot of people did. And they thought we were part of the church. So that was a big, we're like, no. Because we had the other restaurant in Pomona that was named the same, so of course we used the same name. But yeah, we're like, oh, okay, this is good. And then the priest would give us big shout outs at the end of Mass and tell everyone to go to the restaurant. So that was definitely good for our first year, especially. Again, people would assume we were part of the church because he was, promoting the restaurant. So we're like, sure. So he was definitely a blessing. And that helped us, build our clientele the first year. So anyways, so we were there, working every day from open to close. We did everything. I remember cooking, cleaning, washing dishes, whatever had to be done, we did, And I think the first year we lived off of our tips because we had no money to pay ourselves. So we basically lived off the tips, which, got us through. I remember there was hard times. We had an old van that we used, and it said Eduardo's on the sides. It's like a really old van. And one night we were going to go home, and for some reason, that's the only car we had there. So we were all going to get in the van and go home. And my nieces and nephews were there with us. And it was a stick shift because it was really old. And it wouldn't start. So my brother had the great idea of let's roll it down the street and push it and get it started on Merrill. If you know where the restaurant is, it's kind of downhill. So, we kept pushing. We went past 5th Street, 4th Street. By the time we got to 3rd Street, we're like, okay, it's not going to start. So we all ended up walking home. Which, was funny. We were laughing about it on the way home. Not only did we have to walk from the restaurant home after a long day, but we had to walk from further down because we had pushed it so far down. But anyways, those are kind of like some of the experiences we had in the beginning. Like I said, we were there all day. We didn't have a life. And then that was the time where there was beepers. Anybody had a beeper back then? Okay, so the good thing about that is one of us could leave for a while, and if you had your beeper on you and you got beeped, that meant get your ass back in here because we're busy and we need your help. But that's the only way we could get away for a while. So that was definitely, I remember being at the store somewhere and I'd get the beep and I'm like, oh crap, what if I just ignore it, But no, I never did that. Or at least I've never admitted to it. So There was hard times, and I think the first time we actually got a check, it was for $32. Once things got better, I remember getting that first check. We were so excited, not because of the money, but because we were at the point where we were actually making a profit, or not necessarily a profit, but at least enough money for us to take something. And then eventually, we started doing better within the years, and things got better. And we just kept going. In 1999, we decided to open a second restaurant in Riverside. And we had a location on University Avenue in between Chicago and Iowa. And we opened up another restaurant. It was a bigger restaurant, so we decided to have a different name. It was called Don Pedro Mexican Restaurant, named after my dad. And we opened in 2000. Well, it was a nice place, but it was a very big restaurant, so it required a lot of money just to keep it going. And at that point, that area was in transition. It was before they did all the student housing, the additional student housing and all of that. So I think we were there before it became a good area. So it didn't do well. We eventually closed in 2004. And I know they say most restaurants fail within the first year. 90% of restaurants fail within the first year. And that's actually not true. It's more like 17%. But 90% of restaurants do fail within the first 5 years. So that was between that time frame. If you get through the 5-year mark, you're probably going to make it way past that. So that was only 4 years that we were open. We were almost there, but I think we were there before we should have been there. After that, we've gone through other periods of downturns like the Great Recession, and then with COVID last year, it's been a difficult time, I think, for most business owners, but specifically for restaurants, because we were so limited in what we could do with takeout. And understandably, we were very careful also because of our staff. We wanted to protect them. The Hispanic community has been hit very hard with COVID because a lot of us work in service jobs and in industries where we have a lot of contact with people, and there's other factors that play into it, but we wanted to make sure our staff was protected. So we actually closed for 2 months to begin with, so we wanted to see what was going to happen, and then we reopened for takeout. Had very strict procedures, and just to protect the staff. We didn't open until everyone had the opportunity to get vaccinated. We drove employees to get their vaccine. We made appointments for them. We didn't force anyone, but everyone pretty much got the vaccine. And we wanted to reopen once everyone was protected. So that's been very important for us, our staff. We have a wonderful staff. We have people that have been there 10, 15, 20 years. We had one of our main cooks retired after 20 years. She started working with us the first week we opened, and we don't have high turnover, and I think we have a very good team. Everybody's invested in the success of the restaurant, and they take pride, in putting out a good product and good service. I think the restaurant business is one of the most complex businesses there is. And I'm not saying that because I'm in the restaurant, but there are so many components to a restaurant and there's so many moving parts constantly. that I don't think we would have been able to do it if there wasn't 5 of us. I think it's for one person or 2 people, it's a lot more difficult. We, as you can see, my siblings aren't here. They hate any attention, which I used to not like either, but I put myself out there more. But they didn't want to be here. They're afraid I was going to call on them. So they're like, no, good luck. You do this. So yeah, I can't get them to go to events or anything because we're very private. We're a very private family. Well, except for me, I'm kind of like the black sheep of the family in a lot of ways. So, but we all have our areas of expertise that we focus on, besides the general running of the restaurant. Like I said, Salvador was the big entrepreneur, and he put in place a lot of our procedures and, things like that. My sister Adela is the best cook ever. Like, I don't know how she does it. I think she inherited it from my mom because my mom was always a very good cook. She, people would come over and she'd just serve beans and they would rave over her beans. And I'm like, they're just beans, but she, if they're not perfect, they're not that good. It can be the simplest recipe, and simple is sometimes a lot better than throwing in a lot of, seasoning and stuff. The simpler, when it comes to Mexican food, is usually better. But she has the touch. She can eat something and figure out what's in it. I'm more of a cook in theory. I know how to do things. I know the procedures. I know the ingredients. I know everything, but in practice, I'm not that great. I stick to other things. I'm a good taster, though. I can always tell when something is good or if there's something missing. I'll always tell her, that's not right. There's something missing or there's something, out of balance. And then she'll go look at it and she'll be like, oh, it was missing this or it had too much this. So we make a good team. I eat, she cooks. And then Mary is good with staff. She's cracks the whip, and she's very good. In a restaurant, one of the biggest expenses is labor. And if you aren't on top of it every hour, every day, it can really eat up your profit margin, which to begin with is not that big. So you have to be on top of that. It's, especially here in California, it's one of our bigger expenses, more than product. And especially at Eduardo's, we cook everything fresh. We don't buy any sauces pre-made, frozen. We don't freeze anything. Everything's made every day or every 2 days or however needed, but everything is fresh. So the labor is a lot more. A lot of restaurants buy a lot of frozen, pre-made, so they have a higher food cost and less labor costs. Ours is the other way around. So she's very good at that. And then there's Eduardo, who, of course, the restaurant is named after him. And the reason it's named after him is just we all kind of figured it was the nicer name. Not because he's special or anything. But we're just like, okay, what name do we use? And we ended up using his. So, yeah, we remind him of that a lot. So he does a lot of maintenance. He does the purchasing. He does inventory, stuff like that. What do I do? I'm out and about a lot. I do part of the books, especially our bookkeeper took some time off through COVID, so I kind of got back into that. But I had always been, I hated being in the dining room. I've always been very shy, very not outgoing, definitely. I'm more introverted, and it was a big challenge for me to put myself out there. I like it now, but it was a big challenge because I was not very social, and but it's really changed me a lot, so that's good. But I do a lot of the social marketing. I do, like I said, our books, and just we all do the every day to day. We take turns, so there's all that, and especially now that there's such a labor shortage, we have been struggling to get a full staff once we reopen. So we're all putting extra hours, doing a lot of things that I hadn't done for a long time. So it's good. It gets you back into the day to day, and but we'll see. Hopefully we'll be able to get more staff soon. Like I said, there's a lot of parts to running a restaurant. You have to be careful with your food costs, your labor costs, like I said. There's health and sanitation that is very important. You have people's health in your hands, basically, because if you're not careful and you don't follow adequate processes in handling the food and cooking the food and in storing it, you can get someone sick, and so that's very important too. There's a lot, you have to deal with staffing and labor law, so that's another aspect too that's very important to a restaurant. A lot of people will ask us, or they'll say, I love to cook, and I'm a good cook, and people love my food, and I'm thinking about opening a restaurant. And I'm like, no, don't do it. The last thing you need to know is how to cook to run a restaurant. You need to know so much more. You can always hire a cook, but there's so much more that you have to be on top of to run the day-to-day. It's not something where you can turn a hobby into a business, because believe me, if you enjoy cooking, the last thing you want to do is open up a restaurant, because you'll hate cooking at the end. It's very different. So it doesn't hurt to have the knowledge in the kitchen, but that you can't be there the whole day and not deal with the other aspects of the business. So like I said, food has always been part of family businesses, and in our culture, you show your love and appreciation through food. So, my mom will still send me food to the restaurant. Like, I'm surrounded by food, and she still sends me something she cooked, because that's her way of showing me, she loves me. So I love it. As long as she can keep doing it, I'll take it. And then you get sick of eating the same thing every day for 27 years, even if it is a lot of those. But, so we've learned through her how to take care of people with food. So it makes us happy. It makes us happy to see people happy once they eat the food. I always tell the staff, always keep in mind that when people come in, they're hangry. They're angry because they're hungry. And your job is to change that, to make sure that when they leave, they're happy, they're satisfied. If someone leaves unhappy, like, we failed. We failed our mission. So that's always a priority. Put up with a little bit at the beginning because they're hungry, and, we all get a little bit, I don't know, just angry or just, unhappy when we're hungry, like little kids. And so that's definitely something we instill in the staff, take care of our customers. When you're serving people, it's a very personal interaction, very personal relationship, because you're engaging many of their senses: vision, taste, and smell. That's 3 out of 5. So you need to make sure that you satisfy all 3 of them for them to be happy. So if the food doesn't look good, if it doesn't smell good, if it doesn't taste good, you failed. So all 3 matter. That's basic, to keeping a customer happy. Of course, customer service also, but those are primary. And then after their first visit, you also have to deal with the memory of their last visit. If their last visit was good, you need to make sure this one is up to par. Make sure it's as satisfying as the first one. So there's a lot there that you have to do to keep a customer happy. Like I said, our mission is to make sure our customers are happy. And through that interaction, we get to know our customers very well. There's a lot of them that we know by name. We know what they eat. We know what they order. We know their families. We have customers that we've known for 27 years, that have been going there for 27 years. I have one family where right when we opened, we catered their wedding. And then about 17 years later, we catered their twin daughters' quinceañeras. And now last year, one of the girls got married, so we catered the wedding. And then their youngest daughter, who is, I believe, 14, said she's having her quinceañera next year, so we better be ready for that. So, it's nice to be part of all of that. It's very satisfying. Unfortunately, we do also become part of their losses and their sorrows. There's another family who has been going there again since we opened, and the grandson just passed away at a very young age, I think 19. So seeing them go through that has been very hard. He died in a tragic situation. So, but at least we get to be there for the family and comfort them as much as we can. Wish we could do more, but, that's what we can do. So a lot of customers have become good friends also. There's different aspects to a restaurant. Like I said, quality is number 1. I had we had a family come in yesterday, and they hadn't been to the restaurant in 15 years because they had moved away. And they were excited because they were bringing in their kids. Their kids hadn't been there since they were little, and now they're adults. And they were excited because they wanted to show their kids where they used to come when they were young. And, at the end, they said it tasted as good as we remembered. So, it's important to have a lot of consistency in food. You can have different cooks, but everybody has to cook the same way in order to remain consistent. So, cooks tend to want to cook their way because it's better. They think it's better, but we always teach them how to cook. Everything the same. A customer should not be able to tell who cooked it, if it was this cook or that cook. It should always be the same. Like I said, everything in the restaurant is made with fresh ingredients. We don't skimp on quality. We don't serve anything we would not serve our family. That's the big test right there. Would you serve that to your guests at home or your family? If not, we can't serve it at the restaurant. If I won't eat it, I won't serve it. We do try to keep everything as authentic as possible. We use modified family recipes because they're you have to modify them for it's different when you cook at home for your family or when you cook a big batch. And we keep our entrees as authentic as possible, or we try. There's some compromises we have to make because people are used to certain things. So, but we try to compromise as little as possible. So yeah, those are, basic information about running the restaurant. Marketing. I know we were talking about Google having, the sessions about Google and stuff. We've never done a lot of marketing. Most of ours has been word of mouth. We're very fortunate from the very beginning. We did try doing some coupons and stuff, but we realized that coupons weren't a good thing. It undervalues what you're serving because people will get used to the coupon and then don't come in unless they have a coupon. So if you can have good or you can have cheap, you can't have both. And we like to have good instead of cheap. There's a lot of places that have cheap. We do catering. We do, the biggest I've done I think is 800 people. But we can pretty much cook anything in the restaurant, for catering for big groups. So that's about it about the restaurant. I just I know we're running a little bit late now. Okay. So I do want to talk about my community service because that's my passion. I mean, the restaurant is my passion again. I'm not saying it's not. But my community service is very important to me, and that's what's gotten me out and more in public. I love to give back. I love to make a difference. I feel that you have to get involved. We all have to get involved in the community in some way or another. We can't just complain about how things are. If we want change, we need to participate and make change. I serve on the chamber board. I like that I bring a different view to the table. I think a lot of our Latino businesses or business people focus a lot on the business or in the business and not so much on the business and expanding and learning and engaging the business community. So I would love to be, to help change that. And that's one of the reasons I'm here. I know we're doing this in Spanish at 10 o'clock, and it's the first time we're ever doing one in Spanish. So that's, I'm very happy about that. I'm dancing inside. I'm also on the board of the Corona History Association. Again, history is very important, and we have to preserve it. We have to tell it. We have to share it, the good and the bad, because we learn from both. We can't just share the good because it makes us feel good. We have to share the bad. And the Latino community has been a big part of Corona for a long time. And, sometimes that part of the story doesn't get told. So I like to, I want that to be more out there and everyone to know about it. One of my favorite books is Reina Gold. Has anybody read Reina Gold? Yes, that's one of my favorite books because it talks a lot about Corona. There's a lot of the great part of the story happens in Corona. So read that if you've never read it, by Rafael Villaseñor. Yeah. I'm also on the Cinco de Mayo committee. I had some issues with Cinco de Mayo growing up in a traditional Mexican family because Cinco de Mayo is not celebrated in Mexico. It's not a holiday. It's not anything. But here, it's a big thing. It's like, I don't know. It's like Independence Day, but it's not. And I had some issues with that, and I had to make peace with it. I learned it's more of a Chicano holiday, Mexican-American holiday. So in Mexico, they always say, why do you celebrate Cinco de Mayo? And before I'd be like, I don't know. It's just there, But then I learned about it. I learned the history of it, and I'm okay with it. I'm good with celebrating it. And then the Cinco de Mayo committee, we have a big event, a parade, and an event at the park. So I love sharing my culture and my heritage. And as you see, I brought you guys pan dulce because I thought coffee without pan dulce, no, not if not if a Mexican's speaking. And we raise funds for scholarships for Corona Norco Unified School District for all the high schools. We do at least one scholarship. And you don't have to be a Latino to apply for the scholarship. Anybody can. I'm also on the YMCA board. And again, another organization that serves the underserved community. The Y does a lot of good things. I was recently at the Teen Center and Home Gardens, and boy, what I would have done, to have that kind of a place to go to when I was young. My parents were busy working. When I was a teen, I didn't have that support to help me, move forward, go to college. Although I did have, when I was in school, there was a program that I participated in, and it was called the Migrant Program, and it was a program for kids that were kids of people working in the agriculture industry. So that was a big thing for me. That's what helped me want to go to college. They would take us on college tours. I participated in a program where I went to the University of San Diego for 6 weeks one summer when I was 14. And that was a wonderful experience because we lived in the dorms. I was 14 and we're living in the dorms with our parents. So that was, pretty amazing. We got school credits for it. It was just, it was very good. They, like I said, they helped me want to move forward and go to college. So all those programs are important. I'm also on the board, last one, of the Herencia Mariachi Academy, which is a mariachi school here in Corona. It is a school started by parents. I came in, about 3 years after they opened. And they teach kids, they teach music. They teach how to read it, how to play the different instruments. They teach them stage presence. We also promote going on to higher education, and a lot of our students have gone on. Like last year we had, I believe it was 6, and we were able to give them some funding for their, college, which was, that was also good. We have a top-notch musical director. He actually played with the best mariachi in Mexico for 20 years. And so he recorded with Linda Ronstadt and some other Latin important artists. And so that school is doing really great work. As you can see, most of my things I participate in, I want to bring more, integrate our community a little bit better. Bring all parts of our community together, and hopefully eventually all the kids will have the same opportunity. Everybody will have the same opportunity, and we'll have more diversity in general. So that's my passion right there. That's where I hope, to make a difference besides feeding people good food. So anyways, I think that's all about me.
So Marta, let's give her a round of applause. I'm going to start off with the question, and then please, if you guys have questions, I ask you to repeat it so that Facebook can capture it. But I want to start off with a comment. The blessing from the priest, I think that is awesome. You put your faith in there. And not a coincidence that Eduardo's in St. Edward's. That's from above, I am sure. So
it wasn't us.
Yeah.
But
yeah. How you get involved and you help so many nonprofits. You also help a lot of businesses with catering. I recall you shared with me, you had someone called you and they were in panic mode. They needed 200 to feed 200 people. Like they gave you 2 hours notice. You made it happen. share on that, but also what is your most unique request, either from the restaurant or for catering or whatever that you could share with everyone?
Okay, yeah, that happened about a couple months ago. I had a friend call me and said, I need help. His ex-wife had hired someone on Facebook to cater and they never showed up. So yeah, don't hire someone on Facebook. And he said, I need food for 200 in 2 hours. And I'm like, okay. Luckily, it wasn't a crazy busy day at the restaurant, and we were able to focus on that. Otherwise, I don't know if we would have been able to do it. But, you know, we gave him a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and, you know, made a bunch of enchiladas and had him on his way in about 2 hours, 15 minutes. So yeah, that was a crazy one. We've had some crazy ones, but that was a crazy one. I don't know, the most unique requests or sometimes they'll come and ask for things that aren't on the menu. Someone came in and asked me if I could do Italian food. You know, yeah. And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, but it's easy. I'm like, okay, well, you do it. You know? We've had, like I said, there's some weird ones. I had a friend who got married, and we catered her wedding, and it was outside, and it was the hottest day of the year, and it was crazy. The wedding planner was not much of a wedding planner, and I actually had to step up and bring in staff to help serve, extra staff to help serve, and he was just going like on the day of the event, and you know, I did that in part because it was a friend, and I didn't want her to have to deal with that on her wedding. So I took care of it, and then just told her after she came back from her honeymoon. I told her, go on your honeymoon, and we'll talk later. But yeah, there's some situations there that are kind of crazy.
So we'll open up for questions. Please feel free.
Okay, Kim?
What dish are you most famous for?
That's a hard one. Actually, what dish is Eduardo's most famous for? It's a hard one because we sell everything. Like, everything sells really well. Like, for example, definitely our carne asada is very popular, whether it's the plate, whether it's in burritos or tacos or whatever. We serve a very good quality cut that you won't find at many Mexican restaurants. And but then, like, our carnitas are very popular. They're from the state where my parents are from, so it's a very popular dish there at the restaurant also. We sell a lot of soups, and even in the summer with this heat, we sell a lot of soups. One of my favorites is chile rellenos. I love chile rellenos. They're a pain in the butt to make, but they're delicious. Yeah. And Eugene?
Two things. Have you had very many customers that have been very irate? I know people are saying in restaurants right now that customers are very short-tempered. And then on the other hand, have you had customers leaving bigger tips?
Yes, on both. If we've had, Eugene asked if we've had customers that are irate, you know, more upset because we're short-staffed and, you know, all the different measures we have to take. And then he also asked if there's customers who have leave a bigger tip. And yes, on both. We have, during COVID, during the shutdown, when we were only open for takeout and we did require masks, we would get yelled at a lot. The staff was handling a lot of stuff. And even now, like I said, we're short-staffed, and people really don't understand how hard the staff is working, and they're still want it now. You know, they don't want to wait. They want this, or we're still working on a limited menu and a limited schedule, and they don't understand why. But I'll be honest, most of our customers are wonderful. Those are very few. People when we were closed, people were always asking us, how are you doing? Are you hanging in there? You know, and yes, bigger tips for the staff, definitely, even for just takeout. So we do have wonderful customers. Like that's like 95% of the people, and yet they're still leaving big tips for the staff. And when we were closed for takeout, the staff that we had working, we made sure, you know, they had their salary their pre-COVID salary, even though they weren't working as much, because we wanted to make sure that they were taken care of. So yes. Jackie?
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for all the great work that you do in the community. And thank you for taking all those precautions during COVID. You didn't have to. You went above and beyond, and thank you for keeping us safe. My question is, you know, and I see it in my own family, anecdotally at least, a lot of Latino businesses are based in family, and family still works and not just establishes but is part of the everyday. Can you speak a little bit to that? Do you think that's a strength? Do you think any thoughts on why that is? And if you think there's any weaknesses to it, I'd love to hear that too.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat? That was long.
Sorry.
Okay, she's asking about the strengths and weaknesses of working with family, basically. It's difficult. It can get difficult. I do know that, especially in my family, we were so united that it was kind of natural. My sisters quit their job to help my brothers in the restaurant they had in Pomona, and I was still in school and helping out. And I was only going to be there for a year, you know, but I ended up staying for, I don't know if it was good or bad, but that's what happened. And it's been a difficult journey, I can say. It's hard to separate family and work. We end up talking about work at home and family at work. We try hard to separate, but you can't separate everything. And it can make or break a family. We've had our difficult times, but in a way it is a strength, because we know we can rely on each other. We know we're all working towards the same goal. And, you know, like I said, I don't think we would have been able to do it if it was just two of us. You know, I think that's one of the things that has helped us all, is that there's several of us, and not all of us are at 100% all the time. So when some aren't, because we've gone through our rough periods, some of us, and even when we lost my dad and my brother in the same year, and that was very hard for everyone. And I can say that the staff totally stepped up for us, because my dad got diagnosed with cancer, and he was home for 5 weeks after that, and we spent every day with him, and the staff completely stepped up there. And even after he passed away, and when my brother passed away, we had a lot of support in the community also. So it can go either way. Yeah. Oh, Nate.
My question is, what advice would you give for the younger adults that do want to get into the food industry, or like want to open up a restaurant?
Okay. No, it's good to start young. If that's what you want to do, you need to learn every aspect of it. We actually have an employee right now, and he's very hardworking, and he wants to open up his own restaurant eventually. And he's worked as a cook. He's worked at different positions, and he asks a lot of questions. He's learning from us, and you know, that's awesome. You know, eventually he opens up his restaurant. That's great, but he's taking it slowly. You know, he doesn't have a plan to do it within a certain amount of years. He wants to make sure he knows everything he needs to know, and he's also going to business school. So you know, that's good. You can learn a lot from the different positions. Stephanie?
What is the biggest thing that you would attribute your success to, and what's kept you going after the hard times?
I think the reason why we have had the biggest success is the quality of the food. We're picky eaters. My whole family, we're picky eaters, you know. We grew up with my mom's cooking, so that's what we compare everything to. So we can pick apart a menu, yet not in a good way. And we're picky. And like I said, we will not serve something we won't eat or we won't feed our family. So I think that has been our biggest success. Part of why we've had success is we're always on top of the quality. And what was the other part?
What keeps you going after the hard times?
What keeps us going after the hard times? Just family, I think. Just and the response of our customers, even though we've gone through hard times during the recession and now COVID, we still have a lot of support. You know, like our customers asking us even now they'll come in and say, "Oh, we're so happy you're open. We were worried about you." You know, so all of that is definitely very, very heartwarming, and just knowing that people are happy with the food. You know, if you make someone happy, that's very satisfying. Okay. Anybody else?
Got time for one more question.
Well,
so are you going to consider maybe expanding to any more restaurants? You dabbled with it?
We have discussed it. We don't have anything certain right now, but we have discussed it. Yeah. Well, I just want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you, and for listening to me.
Wonderful job. Thank you so much, Marta, for sharing your story. As she mentioned during her talk, she's going to be doing this again at 10 o'clock this morning in Spanish. So feel free to stick around for that and or get on the phone and make a call. Make sure everybody knows that she's doing that. We did record today's session both from the city and on Facebook Live, and we will be recording the 10 a.m. session as well. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your expertise with us. We just can't thank you enough for that.
Thank you. I'm very, it's a privilege to be here and to share.
Wonderful. And again, next month we'll be back October 11th with Chad Willardson. If you notice, right behind Marta, there is a banner that shows our historic civic center. If you didn't have a chance to go there on Saturday, we have some flags up. They will be up through Friday morning at 9 a.m. We'll start taking them down. That's in remembrance of those who lost their lives on 9/11. And again, thank you so much to the city for making that event happen along with the chamber. So, class dismissed.
Thank you, everybody.